Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith and I'm sure glad you stopped by today. In today's video, we're going to pick up where we left off in part 1. Remember, in part 1 we introduced to you to the FASTEC strategy for troubleshooting no-start situations like this. We also did some initial tests. We did the key on prime on this vehicle. That fuel pump should turn on for 2 to 3 seconds with the key in the on position. We did not hear that. We also sprayed an alternative fuel source in the intake, and this vehicle did try to start. So it's clear that we are missing fuel. So let's do some more tests to try to figure out what's going on with this vehicle. So for my first test, I think I want to check fuel pressure. I want to determine what pressure readings are at the rail on this Ford Expedition. Remember, in part 1, we did the key on, engine off test to see if we could hear that 2 to 3 second fuel pump prime, and we couldn't hear it. So I think as a next step, I want to see what are actual pressure readings on the rail. If you need help on how to connect your fuel pressure gauge to your fuel rail, I'll drop some cards up above to a video I put out not too long ago on how to do just that, and it goes step by step, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. So I've already got the fuel pressure gauge connected to the Schrader valve. I've got the fuel gauge up here, and I think we're ready to do this test. The Ford specification on this 4.6 liter V8 is that we should see 50 psi of pressure with the key on, engine off. So that prime we were looking for in part 1 that we didn't think we had, we should see 50 psi of pressure. So let me get you set up to take a look at the gauge, and we'll be right back. So we're ready. I'm gonna lean in here and turn the key to the on position, and I'll show you an image here of what the fuel gauge looks like. So as I turn it to the on position, you all can see what change, if any, we have on the pressure gauge. So let's do that right now. Key is in the on position right now. So now I'm gonna go ahead and step over and let's take a look at the gauge and see what kind of readings we're getting. At the rail, we're getting 0 psi. This vehicle should have 50 psi at the rail according to the Ford spec, and this is with the key on, engine off, and we're not getting that. So I think for this next set of tests, let's go inside the vehicle and take a closer look at the fuse box. So before we go and take a look at the fuse box, let me just get you oriented on what it is you're going to be looking at. It's kind of tight in there, and my camera angles, I'm kind of limited. So let me just show you around and let you know what we're going to be looking at here. So fuse number 34, which you see right here, this is the diagram that's on the back of the fuse cover. We're going to be looking at fuse 34. This is the fuse that is for our fuel pump. So it's right here. When we get down here and do testing, I'm going to remove this relay. This relay is responsible for powering your fog lamps, so it's not going to come into play for this test. I'm simply going to remove it. So that's the fuse for the fuse pump. Now when it comes to the relay for the fuse pump, that's going to be relay number 303, which is this one here. Now for whatever reason, Ford decided to make the fuse pump relay non-serviceable, which means that you just can't pull this relay out if it's bad. It's actually soldered to the circuit board of this module. So there's some videos out there of people actually going into the module and replacing this relay. There's some people who have bypassed this relay and put their own off to the side here. So if the relay ends up being your issue, just know that it is in fact soldered to this circuit board. With our key in the on position, we're going to use our test light to check this fuse for the fuel pump. So with our test light, we're going to touch both sides of this fuse. If our test light lights up when we touch both sides of it, that's side number 1. And now let's touch side number 2. It lights up. That means this fuse is in fact good. So for our next test, we're going to be back probing this green wire here with the yellow stripe. This wire is responsible for sending power back to the inertia switch and to the fuel pump. So we're going to verify that we in fact have 12 volts going out on this when we put the key in the on position. This is a good test too to verify that relay 303 is working like it should. And when that key is in the on position, it's sending power out here for that 2 to 3 second prime we're looking for. So I've got that green wire with the yellow stripe. Got it back probe. I'm gonna put the key in the on position and see, does our light come on? So with our key in the on position, the light does come on. I'm gonna do this multiple times here just to verify. And every time I put the key in the on position, this test light does in fact come on. So that means that this relay is good. The control side to this relay is doing its job, it's good. And we have power from this point going back to the inertia switch and to the fuel pump. For my next test, I'm going to be using my Power Probe 3. I want to use this tool to send out 12 volts on that same wire that we were just looking at. And with this Power Probe, it makes it super convenient. If I click the switch upward, I get a power feed directly from the battery. And if I click it down, I get a good ground. But I want to send power straight back to the fuel pump using this tool. And I want you guys to keep an eye on that pressure gauge, and let's see if we see any change by sending our own power back to the fuel pump. So we've got our wire back probed with our power probe. I'm gonna click this switch upward. The red LED is lit. So at this point I am sending 12 volts back to the fuel pump, and that pressure gauge didn't even move. So we just again confirmed that we do have power in fact going back to the inertia switch and fuel pump, and we just essentially bypassed this fuse box. And from that test, we know that we have a good power feed leaving the fuse box headed to the back of the vehicle. Now that test tested the fuse, we tested the internal relay there, all that's good, and we have a good power feed going back to the vehicle. Now before we go to the fuel pump though, there's another component that comes into play that could be our problem. It might not be, but it's worth taking a look. Let's go check it out. So for our next test, the component I want to take a look at is the inertia fuel shutoff switch. So if you look at what we're looking at here, this is a wire diagram for our fuel pump circuit. And here you have the fuel pump relay, and down here you have the fuel pump. So when we were testing inside the vehicle, we were looking at that dark green wire with the yellow stripe. And that dark green wire, remember, was responsible for sending power out of the fuse box to the fuel pump. Well, before it goes to the fuel pump, this power feed goes through the inertia switch. Now, the inertia switch, if it's in the down position, it should be allowing that power to flow down and make its way to the fuel pump. So let's go to the back of the vehicle and locate this inertia switch and verify that it is in fact in the down position. So I've got my lift gate up over here on the driver's side. I'm going to remove this little compartment inside of here. Inside of here there's a little door we're going to remove, and we're just going to do a quick visual inside here to see is that inertia switch down, and it is. So we just took a look at that inertia switch, or the fuel pump cutoff switch, and it's in the down position. So we're going to assume that's good, and it's allowing power to flow to the fuel pump. So at this point, last test we need to do is to check powers and grounds at the fuel pump. I tried to do this. I really wanted to do this test to be thorough, but as you can see here, that connector was just very difficult to get to. I tried to kind of contort my body up in there to get it so I can back probe it and do some voltage drop testing at the fuel pump, but I don't think we're going to have a chance to do that. But at this point, I'm pretty confident in the diagnosis that we have. I'm pretty confident in the steps that we followed, and we're going to call it. This vehicle is going to get a new fuel pump and a new fuel filter. I'm going to order that later on this evening, so hopefully it'll be here next week. If you want to see that, if you have a particular interest in a video with me putting that fuel pump and fuel filter in, leave some comments down below and let me know that, and hit that like button. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, hit that subscribe button and click that bell so anytime we drop a new video, you'll be the first to know. Hit that like button and leave me some comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in any of the products we used in today's video, we'll leave some links down below. Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for watching.